616-4257 or 305-432-9624. Stay connected to Kingdom Connection, looking to help reduce incidents of crime and violence, improve social interaction in family and community, and to help enhance economic fortunes guided by biblical principles. Kingdom Connection. Tune in every Monday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. only on Q95, the big station. Blessings for all in the Q family. Right on Q.
Connecting us with the kingdom of God. This is Kingdom Connection.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, the church is the conscience of the nation, not its servant, nor its tool.
The voice of God in Dominica.
We are standing on the brink of a new dark age, attractive and present, subtle and deceptive, outgoing and persuasive, a society of misplaced values.
We need Kingdom Connection.
We are now shifting from just discussing the issues to the solution. Password to access is Kingdom Connection. Please download Save. Resolution is guaranteed.
Biblical direction for kingdom living. This is your program, Kingdom Connection.
Let your blessings fall on the city, Lord. Let it rain as we sing your praise. Now we're going to sing a song to pray blessing over this city and then to pray blessing over the nations of the earth. And so as you sing this song, let the power of our praise break the spirit of heaviness and bring forth healing and deliverance. Amen. Yes. Yes, we are salt and we are the light. We've come to break all the powers of night, and by the love of God proclaim His liberty.
A very good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. It's Monday evening and it's the 27th day of January.
We take this place. Lord, let your will be done.
Beautiful Monday here in the lovely Commonwealth of Dominica, of course.
Come, come, Lord, let it rain. Oh, let it rain.
So let me welcome those of you who are already on board. You're already tuned in.
Let it rain.
Those of you who told me you're going to get your apple first.
Lord, let it rain.
All of you in the lovely Commonwealth from Capuchin to Scott's Head and Delis to Cooley, welcome aboard.
Jesus,
The many of you joining us in the Caribbean and around the world on www.q95ga.com. Some of you on liveonlineradio.net, on myradioheart.com. And tonight we're streaming live on Facebook. So I'm glad to have every single one of you on with us this evening.
you have risen now to vanquish all our foes. Come abolish every hurt over the nations of all the earth. In your name we'll go. Yes, we'll go to proclaim.
Whatever you do this afternoon, pull up the chair. Sit back and get a good cup of tea. And if you're having coffee, you can have it with a little bit of garlic bread.
Yes, Lord, as we sing your praises.
And if you're having apple, like somebody told me, take it them and slice it. Wash the thing well, okay? Whatever you're having, sit back, relax, and enjoy the program with us this evening. Of course, pick up your telephone so let us know where you're listening from when we get to the roll call tonight. because we'll have a very interesting program as we usually do. And you know we're going to have an interesting program when Jack comes with his glasses.
Oh, let your blessings fall on the city, Lord. Let it rain. Pray blessing over your city.
Well, let's get ready for the roll call. The numbers are 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257, and the overseas line on 305-432-9624. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your roll call on Kingdom Connection for the 27th day of January 2025. You are first on the roll call tonight. You're on the right side. Good evening. Yes. Point Michelle is well locked in. Good night, Point Michelle. On the right side, good evening.
Good evening, Honorable.
How are you doing?
I am good.
I'm glad to hear that.
Even though Colombia don't let no plane land with refugees, don't tell nobody nothing, when they come there.
Okay. All right. I take your advice. On the right side, good evening.
Well, Brother Man, I just give you a long call there because it's been a long, long time.
So you give me a short call tonight after a long time.
Because a long time, because I'm on the road there now, and
Okay.
I Rakuzo wine eating roast pig and lime squash.
Well, that's good. That's good. On the right side, good evening.
Good evening, Pastor.
Yes.
Good evening to you.
Yes. La Vigie, well connected. On the international line, good evening. You're on the right side. Hello. Oh, I can't get you. Let's try this one on the right side. Good evening.
Most I'm on the right side.
West,
I could wait. Come here on the right side.
on the right side. Westy la bien boshi. You have a bien. It's like a boil. All right. All right, good. On the right side, good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. How you all doing?
We're doing very well.
Well, from the line, Welfare Dominica, I'm listening. Bye-bye.
Keep listening. On the right side, good evening.
Hello, good evening. All the pastors are in the house.
All the pastors are in the house.
Well, I'm drinking some Lipton tea bag tonight.
Lipton tea bag on Big Step Kennedy Avenue. Okay, good night, Big Step. Back on the telephone on the right side. Good evening.
Good evening, Pastor Rodney and all the pastors in the house.
A very good evening to you. How are you?
Long time, Pastor Rodney, I'm trying to call and I cannot get through. But finally, I get through tonight.
I'm glad.
So Boston is in the house on the right side.
Boston is on the right side. Good night, Boston. On the right side, good evening.
Good evening, Pastor Rodney.
Yes, good evening.
Daily locked in.
Dalis is well locked in. Good night, Dalis. On the right side, good night.
Hello, good night, my brother. Stacia in the house.
Stacia is well connected.
My brother, I didn't see that, eh?
Say again?
I said, my brother, I didn't see that.
Oh,
I didn't see that.
yes, my brother. God bless you. On the right side, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes.
Belfast is locked in, cousin.
Belfast is well locked
Good
in.
night to all of you, all of the station.
Thank you. Good night to you
On
too.
America, tell you they listening. The Bronx is listening.
Oh, Bronx is listening. All right, wonderful.
And St. Thomas.
All right, good. On the right side, good night.
Yes, you're talking me waiting to hear that shot, man.
Bye-bye. On the right side, good evening. Hello. All right, try that again. Next telephone on the right side. Good evening. Sorry. Let's see this one now. On the right side, good night.
Good night.
How are you doing?
I'm just holding on under the cold, man.
Under the cold. Okay.
Rain. Oh my
my goodness, imagine. So how are you all coming?
We are doing very well. And you're doing well as well, right?
I'm trying my best.
Okay.
I want to say hi to all my people as usual.
As usual, too numerous to mention. From?
Very good. One Prosif Love.
One Prosif Love. God bless you, One Prosif Love. Good evening, you on the right side.
Good evening, Dr. Rodney. This is Francis Muge. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well, Francis. How are you?
Very good, very good. Good evening to Pastor Jack and Pastor Matthew.
Good evening to you. Good evening.
Good evening. I got to check it.
Yes, certainly. Good evening to you as well. On the right side, good evening. Sorry about that. Let's try this one on the right side. Good night. Yes, good evening. Where's that? Grand Fond is well locked in. Good evening, Grand Fond. Yes, yes. On the right side, good evening.
Good evening. On the right side, New York is locked in.
Well locked in New York. Good evening, New York.
Salt, no, I bound to succeed. When she pulled that cover with.
All right, we'll do that for another 120 seconds and we'll change to our talking points commentary tonight.
Voice ringing in my ear. Watch them friends you keep in son. Mommy, wayward friends could drag you down. Mommy, never get caught up in no crime. Mommy.
On the right side, good evening. Hello. Try that again.
Get on the Lord's side, resist the broad side, stay on the bright side. Mommy, what about the guns and ganja? That's not marijuana. Push on pain with liquor. Boy, that is the dark side. You want me to read my Bible?
On the right side, good evening.
Hello, I'm on the right side.
Yes, you are on the right side. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good, and you? I'm just waiting and see what I'm going to do.
You safe. Take care of yourself there in Brooklyn.
Yes, yeah. I'm inside.
All right. God bless you, my dear.
Okay.
Ready.
Okay, take care.
Good. On the right side, good evening.
Good evening, Pastor.
Good evening.
Guadeloupe La Plaine Balizier locked in.
Well locked in. God bless you, Guadeloupe La Plaine.
Well, in the backyard, you'll find a guava tree. To do stamp brand by finger, pomerac, chuli, mango, plum, and cherry. Oh gosh, it didn't have too much fighting. But licks whether night or day, that will bring the discipline. Obey what your parents say. Fight the devil, don't fight man. Mommy, fight for justice in this land. Mommy, my children must not make jail. Mommy, God's children must never fail. Mommy, resist the dark side, get on the Lord's side.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's already 11 minutes after 6 in the evening, and we change gears and get into our talking points commentary this evening. As usual, stay right there.
I hear the song of rustling in the leaves of the trees. The Spirit of the Lord has come down on the earth. The church that says to slumber has no reason from its knees. My bones are responding to the fruit of new birth. And this is now a time for declaration. The words will go to all men everywhere. The church is here for the healing of the nation. Before the day of Jesus right now, my tongue will be the pen of the right. And what the Father gives to me, I'll see. I only want to be. I only want to glorify. And all around the world, the body waits expectantly. From promise that the Father is not ready to fall. The watchmen at the tower now exhorts us to prepare. Church responds the people who will answer the call. And this is not the faith that is passing, it's the sign of an age that is to come. Oh, where are the wise men and the scoffers? Before the face of Jesus, they are done. My tongue will be a pen of a ready writer. What the Father gives to me, I'll see. I only want to be I only want to glorify the King.
Ladies and gentlemen, by way of a Talking Points commentary, I will first take a pause and I will provide you with a quick update on the situation with what is happening with the aircraft, the light aircraft that apparently went down in the Lapland area. I have an update on that, and let me just make sure that you have that and you in your hearing. Yes, here we go. That's an update on the crash of the small aircraft in Lapland.
Yeah, good afternoon. Update on missing aircraft. Yesterday, the helicopter was searching the wrong area. Two the villagers from Monjon used the drone and located the plane up in the hills of Lapland, that is behind the mountain towards Monjon area. No one survived. They can see bodies on the ground, but the helicopter is too small. So it left about 4 o'clock and it went back to Martinique and get reinforcement. It landed in the Lapland playing field. Coffee, a plane that went missing yesterday in the bad weather, and they were searching for it all yesterday afternoon, but it was only spotted this afternoon after 12 in the hills of Lapland.
All right, folks, that's what we have here in terms of an update on that aircraft. Unfortunately, it appears that there are no survivors on that. I'm still hoping that they can find themselves there. I understand that the area where the aircraft is difficult, and going there is a feat, a formidable feat. So the hope is that the helicopter, bigger helicopter, whatever it is, would be able to get there and take people down to the site. My understanding is you can see the site from Monjon. So the plane seemed to have crashed on the backside of the hills of Lapland there. Very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. Our sympathies to the people who are on board. I don't have details on that, so I can't provide you with any of that at this moment. But it's a sad situation. The aircraft left, we understand, the Douglas Charles Airport somewhere about 3:30, 3:45 thereabout. And the airport lost communication with the aircraft. So that's what we have at this moment. And we ask you to pray for the family. Although we do not know who the people are, we ask you to pray for the family and the families of the people who were on the flight. I understand the plane had 4 occupants. So let us commit their families in prayer. It's always tragic when you have loss of lives from accidents like that, okay? So let us keep them in prayer. Thanks for the update there. The second thing I want to share with you is that today I attended the 4-H Club service, a national 4-H Club service, and I want to express my thanks to the people who are working with these young people. Mr. Bud Paul, you're doing a tremendous job as director of the Forge, and to be able to bring all these students in there and all the activities I understand that's happening at the various schools, it's something that must be applauded. And I am aware that very often we don't remember to give people their thanks. But I want to applaud you, Bert, and all the rest for doing that. And you seem to have good support from the policymakers of government. So I am glad that you are able to do that as well. So my thanks to you, Bert, for the job that you are doing with the 4-H Club. Okay, that is something positive happening in Dominica, and I want to highlight it because it's good, right? Let us always put, when we make comments, we certainly don't just make comments for criticisms, but we see that something is good when it's good, and when it's not good, we say it's not good, right? So thanks, Bert and the 4-H Club people for doing that. The third thing I want to mention here is the presidency in the United States of America. I'm going to come to Dominica in a while. Ladies and gentlemen, the president of the U.S. knows his last term, can't be president again after this term. He seemed to be going out to do everything that he desires to do. And he's doing it in fashions that are uncharacteristic of the American governance system, if you ask me. So I was a little ruffled when I, observed over the media the debacle, I call it, between President Trump and the president of Colombia. I don't know that there is any president in the U.S. who have ever responded to any matter like this. Right? Mr. Trump responded like a teenage boy that you pass and touch his ears. He push a punch and he say, if you touch my stick, I'm going to quiver you because I know I'm bigger than you. And that's my best analysis of this. And some of you may have different thoughts on it. That's my best analysis of this. Mr. Trump, if you ask me, wasn't very presidential in the way that he operated that. And I don't think he can be very presidential, not in his speech. And no, certainly not in his action, even in the White House. And that is something that the world must look at. And I'll tell you why. You see, the United States of America has touted itself as one of the greatest democracies to the extent that the United States would get involved in the affairs of other nations if they were not following democratic principles. But alas, that kind of action there is something else. It's beyond me in terms of how things must operate. And apparently, Mr. Trump is not the only person acting that way. There are other presidents and prime ministers who seem to think that when they get into office, they fail to look at their constitutions, like in Mr. Trump's case. Mr. Trump, for example, signed an executive order that right on its face, it's unconstitutional. And I'm not American, but guys, I've told you, I read the books, I listen to lots of people. So the birthright thing. If you get the Constitution says if you're born on American soil, you're an American. Trump says pala. Even if you come and born here, you're not an American. We're revoking that. And that's already gone to the court, and there's already been a ruling in that regard and everything else. I mean, it just appears that Mr. Trump is trumpeting, and he's trumpeting very, very loud. And that is something that is going to be of note to the rest of the world, okay? And the rest of the world must watch. And then I come to the last item with two legs. The meeting that I attended of the Dominica Business Forum in my capacity as immediate past president of the Evangelical Association. I made sure that the president was there to make sure I had legitimacy. Ladies and gentlemen, you always ask us to pray more. But here's what my analysis is. Praying more is not the solution. Let me tell you what the solution. Some of us need to really sit down and look at where we are, both, medically, emotionally, and mentally. Because every one of us must be able to sit back and analyze what we've done, what we've said, where we are, and how we do it. And then align that with who we think we are. And the more I engage people and get into public fora, is the more I am of the view, my brothers and sisters, that many of us need to step back to look at ourselves, listen to ourselves. And I'm not giving you advice that I'm not taking. One of the things I love to do is go back and listen to myself, to critically analyze myself to find out if I'm in my right mind, if what I said made sense, and so on. So that's my conclusive takeaway from the meeting of the Dominica Business Forum on a couple fronts. Let me give you the lighter one first. When I left the meeting, I had messages, and since that day, I've had people, meet me and criticize me from both sides. That was interesting. I don't mind that. So some people thought that, in fact, some people went on Facebook and tried to say some things about me that, and I respond. I don't always respond, but I choose when to respond. The wise man says, answer a fool according to his folly, and don't answer a fool according to his folly. And for this, I had to really make them see how foolish, and I use the word ignorant, they are. Because I was criticized because I made a comment, and it's a request that has been submitted to the government for years now. They never responded to us as an association because we think it's discriminatory. It's not right. It's something that must be corrected, and it wasn't put there by the Labour Party. But the Labour Party has been in office for 20-something years now, and it's coming to light, and so it is something that they can address. And I don't know what some of all you getting hot and bothered about. That I made a request that what we think is a discriminating vice must be removed from the Constitution. That ministers of religion can't contest election. Let me tell you what that is. Some of you who are still ignorant about it. A pastor, a minister of religion, number one. The definition of a minister of religion in our Constitution is not a pastor, or a licensed minister. That's not the definition. The definition of a minister of religion, according to the Constitution, is someone who preaches and teaches in a sanctuary. Now, I want you to think, all of you, about the number of people who've gone through Parliament and become village council chairmen who are teaching and preaching in churches. Just think about it. I'm sure every one of you can list at least 2 or 3 and understand that is a vice that prevents you from sitting in Parliament, which means from the president down. Must not preach and teach in a church. What does it mean to preach and teach in a church? In my church, we call it Bible study. In the Roman Catholic Church, we call it catechism, not true? In
Yes.
if they call it, your prayer meeting or whatever. You preach and teach in a church. That's what the Constitution says, a minister of religion. So when you get so dotish that you think that if a pastor asks for that to be removed, that you have to call him all kinds of names, and some of you say, oh, they must now start taxing churches if pastors can contest election. You're a little bit of ignorant, and I want you to apologize for your ignorance and learn, because it's because you don't know. You went like crazy because it doesn't look like your party, and that includes some of the ministers of government who showed their ugly face at the meeting when I made the comment. All of you. You need to learn. Go back and learn. That's why some of you don't read. Go back and read it. That's what it means. And if you understand what it says, then you will begin to understand that there are people who have contested elections, sat in parliament, and everything. And they were preachers and teachers in churches. Okay? And know that. So some of you got upset about that, and you went to tongue on me. Well, I've always said, they do most of what pay. Doesn't matter. Dash and Leaf is my name. So that's fine. And then some of you got upset because you do not know what I was saying to the Prime Minister at the meeting, or what the Prime Minister was saying to me. Some of you think I must hate people. I don't hate people, my people. I mean, I have a mandate from Scripture to love even my enemies, and I don't have a choice because I like Bible and I follow Bible. Okay? So anybody who, is willing to have a conversation with me, I will. It doesn't matter what. I will disagree with you vehemently. But I will have conversation with you. I will talk with you. I mightn't eat your ice cream, depending on how, I see you behaving with me. I mightn't even drink your water. But I will have a conversation with you. Okay? So, straighten up all yourself. That's why we have too much division in the country now. You think that because you disagree with somebody, you hate them. That's not on. Fix that. All of you need to fix that, okay? And then, here's my final comment on this subject. My other comment that created a stir was I quoted the Prime Minister, Mr. Skerritt, and Mr. Skerritt said he didn't say that. Now, everybody who knows me know very well that I will not quote somebody if I didn't hear it. I will not put something in the public if I'm in doubt about it. I will never do that. I've never done that. I will never do that. But I was sure, and I didn't hear it from the clips on the radio, huh? I heard it from the origin. Okay? When the Prime Minister said so. And I was a little discombobulated. And I was a little sad too that he said outrightly that he didn't say that. Let me just share that with all of you. And all of you need to learn that lesson. Okay? When you're a mature person, when you're very mature, when something like that happens, your response must never be, I never said that. Your first response must not be that. Because you are human, like everybody else. You can say something and didn't mean to say it. You can say something and forget. Your best response is, I don't recall. Even in court, people tell you, that's your best answer. I don't recall saying that. Okay? Your best response. Your mature response is, I don't recall saying that. Right? You must respond from that perspective of maturity. And all of you need to learn that. Every single one of you. Because if it's found that in fact you said it when you said categorically you didn't say it, it looks bad on you. It looks terrible on you. Right? And if I were in that shoes and I really find out I say it, I go back in the public, or send the person who said a WhatsApp or something and say, you know what? You were right. My apologies. I didn't realize I said that, but I said it. That's how it's dealt with, okay? And there's no partisanship in that. It was a political statement, yes, but there's no partisanship in that. The lesson is for everybody to learn. That's what Kingdom Connection is about. Ladies and gentlemen, the Talking Points commentary for tonight, the 27th of January, 2025.
The Spirit is the word of command. We rise a mighty army at the beating of the Lord. The season fail, for his time is at hand. Oh, children of the Lord, hear a commission. That we should love and serve the Lord as one. one. The spirit would be hindered by division.
I see all of you want to call me. Every one of you calling me now, I'm going to give you 60 seconds to say what you have to say on the telephone. I'm going to give you 60 seconds. Good evening. You are connected.
Non, la ka manti tellement, pa même savle ka manti. Qui plus belle en patois, ka manti, pa même savle ka manti.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Merci. On the telephone, good evening. You are connected. You got 60 seconds as well.
Non, bon camarade, moi,
Oui.
ça Alexander, même si t'as fait full paix encore,
Il-
Alexander,
Il était déjà quitté paix, mais il s'est topé, oui.
oui, c'était au paix.
Et c'est pas Alexander tout seul, non?
Ça l'autre beauté, il t'a fait il t'a topé toujours.
Qui l'autre beau?
Sous le petit, ça ne l'a pas pu dire que vous pouvez être là, mais c'est l'autre bord.
Ok, top bagay, papa. You are connected. You have 60 seconds with me.
Pastor Rodney,
Yes.
by the time I heard the man say that, I wanted to leave the place. The man was looking at you straight in your eyes because you turn wrong and you're looking at him and he's telling you he did not say that. All you have to say, I cannot recall saying that. But if I said it anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's it.
Simple that.
That'd be a mature answer, yes.
Yeah, that'd be a mature answer. But the man looking at you.
In my tukogozi.
In your two cocos here. And you willfully turn wrong, you know. I said, I tell you, lady, let's shaking my head and decided, yes, right, with serious trouble in that country.
Yeah.
Having that man sitting down here, holding that fist, Papa, God. Help us.
All right. Let's take that final call before we get into a conversation tonight. Good evening. You are connected. You got 60 seconds with me as well.
Pastor Rodney, good evening to you and to the colleagues.
You know, boss, so I'll give you 120.
Okay. I think the first thing I want to ask, I don't know, in terms of the report we got about the aircraft, small aircraft, where aircraft, which was registered, and how many persons, I don't remember how many persons, and nationality of this person.
I don't have where it was registered, but there were 4 occupants.
Okay.
And the plane was en route from Douglas Charles to Martinique.
But are they Dominican? Are they any Dominican?
No.
Oh.
All right.
Not a good news to hear. But
Not a good news to hear at all. That's why I asked you to pray for their families.
yeah, that's right. Yes. On Wednesday last week, I think you made a brilliant, as you always do, presentation. I think presentation was good until you had some lies and some distraction being introduced there. And I don't know why we cannot. I made the point that it can't be they and us, because we are all citizens discussing something. You may like this person or not, or this party or not, that's your choice. But you have to like the truth, and you have to stand for what is right, what is sincere, what is human, so to speak. And I think when you made the point, and the Prime Minister said he did not say that, I remember hearing that statement coming from his mouth. And I know he had said it, and I think the day after, it was put on a radio station just to show that you were correct. And so forth. It was also played today, because when I called, it was played today to show that you were correct, and so on. So I don't know if the Prime Minister is saying to you that he doesn't remember he said, but leave it as it is now. So I think we made a very good impression there, you and the rest of the persons who presented. And the persons who feel that in terms of giving you blues about your recommendation, I mean, we are discussing, we'll look at things, people put things forward, we decide, we agree, we disagree. What we may not see yesterday has been important. It may become very important today, and what we see important today may become very important tomorrow.
That's right.
Important tomorrow. That's what life is about. And those who want to talk, and I made the point at the meeting, those who want to talk and believe well, at least they cannot disagree. In their house, with their husband, their wife, their children, they disagree. And they can't disagree with their prime minister. Woe be unto them, you know.
It's a sad state when you get like that.
And it's a sad case when you get so. Because, I mean, it tells you that you prefer somebody over yourself, over your family, over your community, over your country. You prefer something you will behave over God. And so on. That should not be how humanity should behave. And I can be in a party and in another party, we disagree on party matters. But on humanity, we shake hands, we smile, we eat, we drink together. And I have no fear of you, I have no fear of me. I never have any fear of any Dominican, no matter what party they support. So I think we have the exercise was good, and the fact that they came out and they came out in their large numbers show that they are not comfortable. But somebody asked me if they were in the right place when they came there. There's a certain number of police officers there, and the clappers there. They asked me if they were in the right place. I told them yes.
Well, actually, I went back outside to call Mackenzie to ask him if that's where the meeting was going to be held. Because when I walked in there, I saw the whole gang there. I figured I was really in the wrong place. Myself and Matthew walked in. Actually, I'm going to call Mackenzie. I want to find out if that is where the meeting is going to be held or if it's upstairs.
Because somebody asked me, and then when I come, Capitol escort me to opposition side. I don't know whether government said on opposition side. So we were speaking, we were in a discussion, and people come in the audience to listen, to ask questions, to make comments. And then the presenters were going to head paper. I didn't realize you had a government section.
Bosso, I that's one of the things that I shared with Matthew, that, these technicians of government, these people who work for government, I really hope when the government changes, these people change. I'll tell you why. These are the people who are causing the most damage. And the Labour Party people are not saying that, but these are the people causing the most damage for the Labour Party, I'll tell you why. This wasn't Parliament. This wasn't the House of Assembly. This was a meeting called by the Dominica Business Forum. Okay, the government people help with the setup, and that's fair. If you want, that's fine. You can't take a job to usher people and divide the people. So that youth will figure we have more than them. This kind of division there starts with people like the CAPSEC who did that and the Capitolians who did that, who were deliberately ushering government on one side and people that they think or they did not know on the other side. This is dangerous. And I am calling them out on that, because you cannot be a technician doing that. You cannot be a technician to do that. You're not a parliamentarian. You're not a party person. You're working for the government of Dominica that represents 100% of the people of Dominica. And it's not even your meeting. So it's foolish to do that.
Yes, and I'll say quickly that I'm in serving government. I serve in cabinet when I act. I serve in parliament as well. And I also worked in government before I was in parliament. I work in government on contract there. I saw no CAPSEC, no financial secretary come and set up meeting where Michelle was going, you organize your thing and she comes, she sit down, and you don't have three little police, four little police with her there, a little car parked there, and she come walking and come into the function. I expect, okay, you come there, expect the ministers may be seated in front or whatever the case may be. And the rest of them, I didn't realize you come there. Because when it was coming to sit on the side I sat, the captain told her, no, that is opposition side. Opposition side and so on. I hope when you call the Almighty, as you have to call all of us, when you call them, they'll say, put me in opposition or put me in government side. And so forth. Because to me, I just find it ridiculous. And quickly there, when I made a point, please try to come and try to report what they were saying. But I say either things require some learning, some understanding. I don't know how old it is. I understand that's the whole government's work, because government is about the people. When you make a point, we went to Parliament and we could pass this. And Prime Minister, I applaud you for listening to us and decide some things you had on, you change your mind. We don't need to have, as if you're trying to say, this is talking about something you're going to pass for himself and for his colleague and not for the country, In other countries, you have people telling you they have a major thing called a member of Parliament. And I ask whether these members of Parliament really sit down and discuss with their constituents the importance of electoral reform. They take pleasure in the fact that people don't bother. But if people don't bother, you want to pass something and you're not educating them. What are you passing it for? And so on. So thank you so much for allowing me.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. And
You're welcome.
Up, as you always do.
Of course. Thanks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we change gears, and it's already 6:42. We need to get into the conversation that we are supposed to be having this evening. Some of you who are still calling, I'm sure you can call on the subject of censorship and the balance between free speech and national security. We have had that conversation going now for 2 Mondays. And I'm going to ask Matthew in a while to recap that for us. And I have not even introduced the gentleman. Amen. And I have somebody with me as well on the line with me as well. And we invited him to join us this evening. And so first, let me welcome the two of you. Let's maximize the time. So Matthew, good evening.
Yes, pleasant good evening, Pastor Randy and Pastor Jack. Good evening to you, and of course to our guest this evening. Special good evening to you.
Good evening as well.
We'll get to him shortly.
Right.
Yeah.
And yes, again, we'll be maximizing our time. Just want to connect with all of you, those of you listening to us around the world. It's always a joy. And of course, we already started it. We've gone through several minutes already. And for your text messages and all of that, we do appreciate all what you have to say. And I am totally convinced that tonight is also going to be a very special night because we do have lots of things to talk about this evening. So, Jack, good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening to all of you, locally, regionally, and internationally. To all the people in the diaspora, I just want to say a big shout out to you and take the opportunity to say thank you to all of you who have continuously been supporting the charity, and thank you for your last response for our last event. I want to ask you tonight to kick back, relax, and enjoy this program with us.
Thank you, Pastor Jack. And then I have with me on the line Dr. Dion George Bawi. Good night, sir.
Well, a pleasant good evening to you, Dr. Rodney, and a pleasant good evening to Pastor Jack. And Pastor Jack, I have to give you an apology,
Okay, no problem.
Yes, I have always said that I would have contributed, and it haven't got to be much. If I say $10 a month US, I think that whatever it is, it's worth it. Yeah.
Plenty money.
Yeah, and so to Pastor Matthew, good evening as well.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I will always support this program, Pastor Rodney. Very good, educative. The talking points, we can talk about it, but I did come prepared to talk about censorship and obscenity and anything concerning those issues in a very law-abiding way. Yeah, yes. And so we can discuss it, and I am open for any discussion concerning that. I am just so well pleased to be invited. I will say that. I will say I'm well pleased to be invited. And I will say I think you guys have done an excellent job. And I think we'll have a good discussion tonight. Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. George. Matthew, can you bring us up to speed with the conversations that we have had thus far?
Yes, and thank you so much. And of course, a number of things have been sort of streaming from what we've been talking about. In fact, for those of you who've been listening to us over the past 2 weeks, it seemed like every time we get into something, we're moving into a direction. Someone drops something again, and we realize an angle that needs to be looked at. And of course, over the past 2 weeks, we've been literally more than just skirting around the subject. I think tonight we're heading into some specific areas, but we have been looking at some really critical areas. There, we talked about Pastor Randy and Pastor Jack, and of course, I guess we've been speaking about the whole concept of how balancing free speech and national security position itself in restricting free expression. We talked about last week. We spoke a little bit about managing public perception, and then, of course, majority of the times we seem to have labored a lot about upholding societal values. That's where it took us in the angle of upholding societal values. One of the things we say that it's very, very easy for us to control, and with authorities have been able to literally limit the way that people function, even though people want to do what they think they have been supporting and what have become a character trait in a particular community. If we're not very, very careful, then we can literally reduce the values that society has held. And of course, by doing what we should be doing in a very positive way in relation to censorship, it can, of course, help us to uphold societal values.
All right. Thank you very much, Pastor Ogis. Dr. George, I want you to kind of, give us a platform tonight based on where would like, well, the discussion was going last week. But first, before we get to that detail in terms of the indecency and so on, I want you to give us your legal mind on the whole question of censorship and freedom of speech, or the balance between those two in terms of the law, and then we will segue into the whole question of the indecency, if you like, or the societal norms as far as that's concerned.
Well, Pastor Rodney, you didn't get your PhD by buying your license, eh? You really got your PhD by it's worthwhile. Yeah. Yeah, and you're welcome. I want the listening audience to know that I have taught law for 7 years. And Pastor Rodney, I think you may have a copy of my CV.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what it is. And so if I speak on an issue, so let's consider the issue in Dominica, the issue of censorship. First of all, I will just make some opening comments. First of all, I think that there was a time that Lennox Linton went on DBS radio, and I don't think he was treated fairly. And that's my view. I don't think he was treated fairly. And if anybody else were to disagree with me, we can replay it. I think there are clips of it. Yeah, and in fact, he left. Yeah, that's number one. The other thing I would say, so I'm saying that to say that there should be equal time on a national radio station. Yeah, there should be equal time. Recently, there was a member of the incumbent who attended this radio station. I don't think his behavior was welcome. I thought it was arrogant. That's number two. But number three, considering the whole issue of the nasty business, as this program is a Christian program, I think we have a responsibility to denounce it, and denounce it openly. They are nice calypsos. They are calypsos that are welcome. But let's talk about calypso then. The song about the DPP. I mean, people play with words. People play with how you call it, DPP, CPC, Tiwela. I don't think the man called nobody name. No. And I just think to get 9 gunshots in his vehicle, you're telling me that just now Pastor Rodney might get some gunshots in his vehicle. That's what I see. And so my view is that's not healthy. The other thing I would say at my beginning comments, when it comes to last week, you guys had a very good program, and I want to give you guys comment for that, Pastor Matthew and Pastor Jack and Pastor Rodney. The whole issue of what is called
balancing free speech.
Yes.
And national security, yeah.
Yes. But also indecency or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yes. And my view to that is these things have certain boundaries. I just want to give the basic facts, and then I will let the next speaker go. Mm-hmm. One, if you were to travel to the African continent, there are some countries, Dr. Fountain may be able to speak better than that. In South Sudan, there are persons who can dress naked, but there's a contextual, a cultural view that it's within the average view that it's okay to be naked, you know. In Dominica, it will not be. There are other views. I just want to bring it to the forefront. Mm-hmm. That I think it's a healthy conversation. It's if a man were to go jogging, say Pastor Rodney go jogging, and he has a nice chest and he's nice. Pastor Jack is very fit. It's not considered obscene But if a woman were to have done it, it's considered obscene. And the reason for that is because her private parts is a sexual part of her body. A man part is not considered sexual. And the last time I was on, I called your program, and thank you so much for allowing my voicemail. The view of a court case is Miller versus California. And anytime you hear the first name is always the petitioner.
Right.
It's always, yes. And the second name is the respondent. Yeah, the defendant, yes. And so this guy started sending pornographic pictures to people's mailbox. And he was charged. But then we go to the First Amendment of the U.S. And he says that's his constitutional right of expression. The court said no. The answer is no. People don't want it. Do not send it to them. And so in the context of Dominica, my view is if you playing songs and it's being played over the airspace, I think that should be censored. It should be stopped. That's number one. The other thing I think I mentioned the last time, and I think it's worth repeating it because I think it's good education for the listening public. The whole idea of what is called the LAPS test. It's LAPS. L is for literacy. A is for artistic. P is for political, and S is for scientific. In other words, if you send some pornographic thing with, it's not a biology class you're teaching, it's not a chemistry class. It's insultive. It's insultive, and it should not be recommended for your children and for yourself too. It's unhealthy, right? And that's the first point. And the second point I would just leave here. I know that the U.S. Supreme Court, in a case called Obergefell versus Hodges, in 2015, they did legalize same-sex marriage. I know Dominica has gone through that, but I know your program is one who stood very steadfast against it, in spite of its criticism. My view on that is Dominica has always been a Christian nation. And so the point becomes, okay, so what about people's First Amendment right, freedom of expression, freedom of religion? My view is, what is the freedom of expression? We are a Christian nation. We are a Christian nation. And if we are moving in a different direction, you best tell me. So if the courts in Dominica are moving in a different direction, I would say, it takes a voice like this platform to express our views. And I think it makes sense to do so. And I would say that I am one who still believes in the old-time religion. I'm one who still strongly believes in Jesus Christ. And I'm one who still believes that Christ's way will be the right way. And I think these are my opening points. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. George. Jack, last week we began to lift this conversation up, right? And we were looking at, in fact, Matthew brought forward the whole question of societal values. And we're hearing some thoughts from Dr. George as far as the societal values is concerned, from culture to culture. When you look at what is happening here in the Commonwealth, how do you view that? Okay, we have some music, for example, playing on national radio and everywhere else, on buses and so on, that, in my humble view, should not be within the earshot of children. I don't want to hear it, right? What is your view as far as that's concerned, right? In terms of censorship. Jack. Yes.
I asked the same question. I have the same concern this last week. With the constant evolution of societal values, how do you establish any form of censorship for that which you concern indecency? How do you do that? What do you control? Because last year we could do that, but this year we don't do that anymore. For example, I believe that when I was a boy, that song I was not allowed to sing. That doesn't mean I did not sing it, but I wasn't allowed to sing it. And I understood if that would be censored when we sing Dr. Tokes Inject Me the Same Way Again. And when I grew up to be a big man and I listened to the lyrics and the composition of it, then I understand what they were saying. But at the time at my age, I couldn't understand. But I am sure there were adults who understood the context. Would that be censored? So with the constant evolution of cultural values, today I used to look at Carnival, and that which that is in person in Dominica right now, if it was put in a magazine or in a movie, would it not be considered X-rated? So whereas we do not censor things that are done in person, but if the same material is duplicated or in a movie, it is rated X or double X. But in person, there is no censorship. Is that the societal value controls censorship, or censorship controls societal values? Because it's a constant evolution of what is accepted today may be rejected tomorrow.
Matthew and Jack, and I want you to think of that question. Very many years ago, as a young guy, one of the the reggae artists that was coming across the Caribbean was what's his name, Yellowman.
Right.
I think it was Yellowman who did that song. And those of you in the audience, when I refer to the song, if it's not Yellowman, correct me, but I think it's Yellowman who wrote that song, Do Ben Dong.
Right.
Right? If he give you a car, do Ben Dong. If you whatever, do Ben Dong. Now, in Jamaica, that song was actually banned from being played in public.
Exactly.
Okay. But 7 or 8 years later, they revisited the song, if you like.
You could bend down now.
No, it's not that you could bend down, but that the lesson that the artist was trying to teach then became relevant, right? And the lesson he was trying to say is, some of you bending down for all kinds of stuff. Do bend down because somebody offer you $5. You want to bend down because somebody you want to bend down. Just do bend down.
Don't give in.
Don't give in. Which, no, he was really referring to sexually.
Right. Exactly.
But the application then, it became relevant both sexually and otherwise. And then the society decided, well, wait a while, there's nothing wrong with the song, so we can play.
Exactly.
Right?
When that song came out in Dominica, the preamble of this song by Dr. Tooks was, put your own meaning, but don't call me move along. That was the first thing he said in the song.
Now that you talk about that, I heard this song. I never knew that's what the song was saying.
Exactly. You see what I mean? Because culture, at the time when we said, put your own meaning, but don't call me move along. And I was, even as a child, I wondered what was move along about it. But as you grow up as an adult, you realize there was something moving along about it. So I am really concerned about that, because concerned about the evolution of society.
For me,
that which is acceptable today is rejected tomorrow. People, what was uncomfortable now, because pretty soon I am wondering if the nasty business will not be the mainstream, because we already have it in schools.
Okay.
So when it becomes nasty, we're still asking the question, what direct censorship? Is censorship direct in culture, or culture direct in censorship?
Right.
There's an aspect to evolution to what Pastor Jack is saying. But what I want to do is I want to tie in what he's saying with really what Dr. Dion George has said earlier on. And I want to see if I can bring a sort of a junction to what we're saying. Now, as an umpire, I'm a qualified cricket umpire. Okay, so I have studied the game, studied the game of cricket, and I've done umpiring, several places, across the Caribbean too. But the thing is, when you learn the laws of cricket, just giving one example here, one of the first thing that you're told is that there are two things. There is the law of cricket and there's the spirit of the game.
Right.
So with what Dr. Dion George and what Pastor Jack is talking about here is it. So even if you have all of these laws, that you know exactly when you're supposed to give a man out, or when you're supposed to look over the decision that you've made, or you have to get into the center of it, to consult your other umpire, or maybe get to the third umpire, whatever it is that you have to do. In the midst of all of that, doesn't matter what it looks like and doesn't matter what the law is, every umpire knows that the game is not really about him. So in other words, he should not be concerned about everybody looking at him. You want your best to make sure that nobody's really seeing the umpire. It is about the game. And so there's a spirit of the game. So the thing about it is, though something might be wrong, or let's say something might be as far as you're concerned, it might be right. Let's say it might be right. But because there is a spirit, and we know that by upholding what you think is right might bring a certain level of confusion that might disrupt the game and bring bad blood to everything, and as a result can cause more confusion and division, and that's not what you want. You always have to tread carefully by ensuring the spirit and the law sort of has a jelly between. And so no matter what it is that we're hearing, what we're saying, where we're going, when it comes to the whole concept of censorship, there's always a spirit that we have to ensure that something might be legal or illegal, but we have to carry it. Just like judges might be looking at a particular case, but there is always the spirit in the midst of what's happening in ensuring that whatever they're doing, that they know that at the end of it all, it brings everybody to a center. And as a one of those persons who sit and deal in cases, we know exactly what happens when we have to make those kind of decisions.
It's interesting that you say that, because I'm now listening to that from the perspective of morality in society. Right now, from one place I understand you. So I sit down as a court mediator.
Right.
And my job is not to get what is right or wrong.
Right.
My job is to settle the matter, or get the matter settled.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Have both people settle the matter, more appropriately said. Right. But when there's a case of morality, and for us, for example, we stand as church, there must be a line. And Dion, I hope you can comment on that now. As far as the law is concerned, there must be a line. Right? Some things have to be upheld. Otherwise, you love that phrase yourself. When law is watered down, what happens?
Yeah, it becomes advice.
Right, it becomes advice. And once you have advice, then chaos is inevitable.
Confusion,
right? Now, and that's the same thing that's happening when those things are allowed to go unchecked. So that I am of the view, that there must be some sort of organization, some sort of law, some sort of thing to say, no, that must not be accepted. Okay, it's like okay, and I'm going down that road because I want to make the analogy. The LGBTQ movement, for example, people have always done LGBTQ activities. Right, since Noah days, as far as I understand Scripture, right, Matthew, right. So we have always had homosexuality, but sex has always been something that people do in private, whether it's homosexual or heterosexual sex. Okay, and for us, that's why it has been. If you ask me, the LGBTQ movement is not just about a movement to say that we want to do what we want to do. It's that they want to do what they want to do, but they don't want you to see. They want you to see what they do and don't tell them it's wrong. In other words, they want to bend the standard, right? Which is the same thing with the nasty music. They want to bend the standard. I remember, and I'm giving another scenario there before I let both of you come in. I was on my way to Costa Rica a couple of years ago, and the flight stopped in Panama, and I picked up one of the magazines in Panama, and they were going to have a sailboat competition or whatever it was, or sailboat week or whatever, and one of the pictures advertising that activity did not have a boat. But it had two nicely, sexily dressed women on the flyer. There was no boat. Right? There was no boat in the flyer.
So you're selling the women.
This is the women.
They sell it.
So I asked the question. I said, wait a minute. Is that about sailing on the sea?
Selling on the women.
You get what I'm saying? I'm drawing that because it is apparent that standards are being, worn and washed. And I do not know if every time that happens, Dr. George, and then I'm going to come to you first and then back to Matthew and Jack, that the law has to be changed. So, Dr. George,
Let me ask you a question.
because of those things, people go in court and they challenge the Constitution, they challenge this law, they challenge that, and they challenge the other. What really should be happening? Is the law, like they say, a donkey?
Well, Pastor Rodney, and I will say that I have taught law for 7 years at Clark Atlanta University, and I can share with you right now, I have been involved in certain situations. I went back to Pastor Jack and Pastor Matthew to listen. If a student tells me right now, his name is Rachel, and his name is really Jack, you best believe I have to call him what is called his preferred name. And if I were to make a mistake, he can report me and says, he disrespects me. I tell him my name is Rachel, and he calls me Jack. This is something that the new world order is moving toward. When I say the new world order, a lot of people have a misconception of what that is. But essentially what it means is, it's too much to go into, but the world was a multipolar system where you had Germany was strong, England was strong, America was strong, but then after World War II, it came to what is called a bipolar system. And now America looking to have what is called a unipolar system, and they are thinking that it's the new world order, that they will say that boys can go in girls' restroom, and all of this stuff, sir. All of this stuff. Now, the last time you had your kingdom connection, I think it was Pastor Jack that mentioned Donald Trump. But I humbly said in my voice note that he may have some negative things, and I can mention some. Again, this isn't a political show, it's a Christian show, but I will mention some of the things I think that's negative. The Colombia issue in Pastor Rodney opening statements, I think some of it is negative. What I see is happening here. I see war. I see war. I see that America will have to go into Colombia and straighten up the Panama Canal. Okay, that's one. The other thing I see is the deportation of a lot of people. But outside of that, please consider what I'm saying, is I also see the view that he's against same-sex marriage. And he's also against abortion. And so we have to wait. And so I don't know how you pastors think about it. I would welcome your views. I have my own views. I think, and even in Dominica, I know Pastor Rodney was challenged when he stood against it. And again, I have to be careful how I speak as someone who teach at the state university and so forth. And I would really support all human rights. And if that's the way it is, I will support it. One might say, so you speak it in two tongues. Well, I'm not. I am speaking by the laws of the nation. And the view here is, I would like you pastors to give just a little view on the same-sex marriage and the abortion, and how you think that Donald Trump approaches. If any of you want to comment.
Okay, Dr. George, just before we comment on that, I just wanted to, just a little clarity on something. I want to hear your thoughts on that, because Pastor Jack a while ago alluded to the fact his position on the evolution of societal values. And then you spoke about when you gave an analogy about one of the case.
Yes.
About, I think 215. I wanted to ask you the question before maybe try to answer the question that you're asking. When does free speech becomes illegal?
Okay. So I can talk about Dominica Constitution, and I can also talk about the U.S. Constitution. In the U.S., there are two what is called clauses. There is what is called the free speech clause, and there is what is called the I'll get to it in a minute. So let me just get to the free speech clause. The free speech clause is not free. What that means is you cannot say what you want. So if you were to say, Pastor Rodney, I'm going to kill you, that's a direct threat. By the way, it's a Class C misdemeanor, and you will be charged for a criminal offense that you have threatened someone.
Is that in the US or in Dominica also?
I think we have adopted the British Constitution, and yes, it also applies to Dominica. Yes. So you cannot tell somebody you're going to kill them. That's a direct threat. Now, when Sam Christian or even Lou Gay says, if I wasn't a Christian, I would do that. This is called what is it's if pakamutimon. Yes, yes. What it means is it's called if belief a thing. So it's not a threat. It's called a conditional threat. Right. The other threat is called a so we're talking about the First Amendment, and you're talking about free speech, and I want to handle it very directly. The other one is the Establishment Clause. Thank you, God, for giving that to me. Yeah, I'm serious, man, because I had almost lost it, but God is good. Establishment Clause is to say, for example, the Church of Dominica is the Catholic Church. That's not true. Randy have a nice church every Sunday I listen to. So the point here is, if one were to say that, oh, the church is the Catholic Church and that's what it is, and outside of that there is no more church, that's not true, my brother. And so the US has said freedom of religion, there is freedom of speech. I just gave you an example, what is called the Free Exercise Law. And there's Establishment Clause, that there's no established church. And what that also means too, my friends, is the view that you have in the First Amendment as well, to petition the government. So if Jean Bawi think that their roads are not being fixed and that they are paying taxes and so forth, they do have a right to petition the government. And so we are very clear about that. And it's within the contrite of Dominica's constitution as well. All right, let's continue. The right to protest. Well, the thin line about it is that it's not exclusive, meaning it's relative. What that means is, okay, Jean-Baptiste, we say they're going to protest for the road. It should not be a violent protest, and I will stand by that. But if they were to, say, for example, impede the traffic, infringe on the free transportation of people, it is the police right to perhaps clear the road. But I don't think, sir, that it gives anyone the right to tear gas people, especially with, as far as I understood, it was expired tear gas. Yes. Yeah. And at the time you did it, and my friends, and for the listening public, if you do it, let's say you choose to do it, consider, please, the elderlies. I've heard several persons in Salisbury have passed away in the area of where that happened. I have heard that pregnant women, my cousin Davis, I heard was shot with live bullets. And my view is, I don't think that was legal. I don't think it was right. And so the question that you asked me is a question that how far does the freedom of speech goes? And so what I did is I took a cursory review of freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and so forth. And I'm saying that I think the Dominican government have stretched it. They have stretched it to the point where you have maybe for 14 years now or 10 years, Thompson Fontaine facing charges, Lennox Linton facing charges. You have maybe 13 people in Salisbury facing charges. I mean, let's just continue with this. It's not right. And so to answer your question in a nutshell, or in a synopsis, if you will, my view is I think they have stretched it. I think it should be pulled back. And I think that the people have a right to say, I am paying taxes and I think our feeder road should be repaired. I really think that's within the people's rights. I don't know how you see it, sir, but I just want to speak on the idea of freedom of speech. Yes, we do have a right to petition the government, and that is not being anti-governmental. I think it is being citizenship. If Randy want to call persons to call and comment on my comments, I really think, that, yeah. And so it's up to you. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, I will come back to you in a question, but I want to correct. I know somebody would have messaged me and correct. I have a few people messaging me and saying to me, it's not Yellow Man who did this song. Is Love in There.
Okay.
So let's take a few calls in there, and we will get back. Good evening. You are connected. It's already 7:20.
Good evening to you, Pastor Randy.
Yes. Good evening, sir.
And I'm listening to this Dr. George.
Will you raise your voice a little, please?
Yeah, I'm listening to Dr. Dion George giving his points about right of way, and I think he spoke about the people of Salisbury. They have a right to petition the government for repairs of the road, which is true, and they have a right to protest, but their protest must not impede the free flow of traffic. Then he said that the police doesn't have a right to take gas them. That's a matter of opinion. And another thing he tried to say is the tear gas was expired. What is it he tried to say by the tear gas was expired? Expired tear gas, as a matter of fact, doesn't affect the people. It is more danger for the police. In other words, if it expired, it might not be as potent as it should be, and it might even fail. So to make it look that the expired tear gas was some aggravating situation on the police in the sense of danger to the public, I don't think that we keep the same thing.
Hold on. Let me ask you that. Do you have any scientific evidence on that, or is that your opinion?
No, that's not my opinion. I mean, I used to be a police officer. I know everything about tear gas. I can give you the exact text right now, but based on experience and practically, expired tear gas it does make it more potent. It does be less potent.
Okay. All right.
I mean, okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. Cool. Now.
Thanks for listening.
Let me take that other call. On the telephone. Good evening. You are connected.
Good evening, Pastor Rodney and the rest of the team. Pastor Ogis. I'm not sure if Pastor Jack is here.
Yes, Pastor Jack is there. Yes.
Yes, I am listening, trying to establish your topic. What I would like to contribute in respect to you all mentioning the lower passion of mankind, and I wanted to shed some light on that, if you all don't mind, because I mean you all would understand in terms of theology. I mean, the lower passion of man is the one choosing to go after his own sex. No, that is not that is a choice that man has made. And the fact remains that mankind is the only species that is defying that law of sex. And mankind, after mankind defies that law of sex in terms of opposite sex, in terms of male and female, should be the ones to come together.
Mm-hmm.
Mankind, he or she decides to go after their own sex. But when they have their pets, and their pets in it, they respect the rights of the pets.
Mm-hmm. They take it to the
when
opposite
they're-
sex.
When they're Doberman and they're Alsatian and they're, I can list it, and they're, and all those nice dogs they have in it, Pastor Randy and Pastor August,
Yeah.
they know how to bring it for the opposite sex of it to mate. Why they don't say, okay, well, if they mate with their own sex, bring the animals for the same sex.
Mm-hmm.
So they respecting the rights. So clearly, what we see there as men of the word, what we see is that mankind, in all the species that God have created, mankind is the most defiant species.
And there's, you know what's the reason for that, right? Sin, but man was created above animals.
Yeah.
And God gave him a certain power to make decisions, but he's using that to defy God.
Exactly. So God gave man a privilege,
Mhm.
and man is using that privilege even against his own self,
Mhm.
him or herself. And I can go deeper in theology. I mean, if you allow me, when God created mankind, he deliberately used the dirt. He deliberately used soil. He intentionally used the soil. Because you all would know in chemistry, in the soil, there is what you call reproduction in the soil. There are protons in the soil. So that is why Adam could go into Eve and for Eve to produce. So in order for us to reproduce, God made us with soil. So you see how God was clear on his intention.
Very clear, very clear. But thanks a lot for your intervention there.
Yeah, because I need to go on to say, if the same-sex relationship continues, it will be a direct attack on the image of God.
It not will be, it has been.
It is a direct attack on the image of God, because every time a child is born, it's a perpetual image of God. So same-sex relationship will never allow reproduction, because male and male can never reproduce.
All right.
And female and female can never reproduce.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's take that other call and then we'll come to answer all of those. On the telephone, good evening. You are connected.
Yes, good night, Pastor Rodney, and good night, Pastor Jack, and whoever is there with you again.
Pastor August, yes.
Pastor August. Pastor Rodney, I listened to Dr. Dion said the Salisbury like me.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to this ex-police or former police. Pastor Rodney, I believe it's time that some people stop playing on our intelligence in Dominica. Yeah, Pastor Rodney, is it not scientifically proven that expired medication is harmful to the body?
Yes.
Is it not scientifically proven that expired food is harmful to the body?
Yes.
And this former police or ex-police trying to tell us or trying to make us as foolish as he is, and telling us that expired tear gas is not harmful to people. It's time that people stop doing the foolishness, man.
Mm-hmm.
And try to educate us instead of making us even more foolish than they are.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
That's
Thanks.
just what I have to say.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Now, let me go back to this whole question of the freedom of expression and censorship, right?
Mhm.
I think our Constitution says in the preamble that we are free until our freedom affects the freedom of somebody else.
Mhm.
Okay, within that context, that's how we should function. Now, what we see happening is an erosion of who we are and where we are, and little by little, in fact, it's going fast now. that erosion is getting so thick, Jack, that people are taking offense now for everything they were not taking offense for, right? As happened under the French law now with preachers of the gospel under the French law cannot from the pulpit talk about homosexuality openly, right? Except this is something complimentary. They cannot say from the pulpit that is wrong, right? Why? Because we have been eroding this thing so far that we are blurring the lines, and that has been deliberate. Now, one of the things that all of you in my audience need to understand, that there are calculative moves by the devil and all his agents to shut God up and to make God look like he's not God. Now, people like us know that. That's why, from our perspective as church people, there are standards that we can't compromise.
Right.
Okay? We can't compromise it because that's God's standard. And we do everything possible to ensure that everybody around us come to hold up God's standard because we believe it's the best for living. Right?
That's very correct.
It does not mean that we will impose it upon you. We will do everything to persuade you to the place where that's God's standard. For example, I mean, my friend Heston Charles shared some very important things here. Man and man can reproduce. Woman and woman can reproduce. So there's no way God would sanction same-sex marriage when he says go and replenish the earth. It would be an oxymoron. It's just not making any sense. Okay? So we know it's not godly. Same-sex marriage is not godly, period. No questions asked.
Right. But on the other hand, I had a discussion with a brain that I respect, a university graduate. And this is somebody who I think, for me, in the world, I respect his standard because he's also claimed, the individual always claimed that he's a Christian, also Christian man.
Right.
And my point was talking about the abortion and homosexuality. I said, you don't have to ask me what is my stand because I am a Christian. And since I live by the Christian Bible, it's not my choice of belief. It's what my master says. And I obey. He says, what I have to understand is that everybody, my religious bias creates a standard of morality for me. And I understood that. He said, but you must understand that the world does not live by your standard of morality. So because your religious bias has already created a standard of morality because you live by the Bible, but all of the world does not live by the Bible. And if someone does not believe by the Bible, what standard do you have to establish a moral conduct for them if not dictated from the Bible? Because they don't believe the Bible. But they don't even believe
but hold on.
So, but those of us who claim to be Christians and believe by the Bible, that is where our hypocrisy is. Because we all claim that this master is directing our actions, our attitude, and our ways. So how can I dictate to the rest of the world who doesn't believe what I believe to make it? But also, on the other hand, see the balance of it. How can the rest of the world declare illegal, or for example, like in France, how can the French government declare that my stance on homosexuality and abortion is illegal and can arrest me as a preacher, whereas I do not have the standard to tell them if they don't believe the Bible how to live, but why do they believe what I believe is illegal? So in two ways, you balance that.
I'm coming back to you, Jack, on that because I want to rebut to that in a sense. But I want to educate the former police a while, right? Because we sit here and that's what we do, okay? So there is an analysis on expired tear gas, right? And Dr. Hendrickson says this: expired tear gas can be dangerous for two reasons. First, the combustive mechanism in expired canisters can break down and cause gas to release either too quickly or at too high a concentration. Second, the chemical components of the gas can change past the expiration date. Okay? So, He says we don't know what the contents of these canisters are anymore once they expire.
Yeah.
Right. So be careful about that. That's why I asked you if you had if you had any information about that. My goodness, all my lines are going, and I want to talk to you a little bit about that on the telephone. Good evening. You were connected. Hello.
Good evening, Pastor.
Yes. Good evening.
Yeah. You know, I'm not one who will advocate for same-sex marriage. That's not my intent. But what I'm asking is, after you have chosen as a Christian not to be a partaker of same-sex marriage, don't you have a right to respect someone else's choices to participate in their type of marriage?
Listen.
I'm just saying, like, I think to me, as is inherent in the Christian, was also an acceptance of people's right to do as they choose. I mean, you can try to convert someone to Christianity, that is your right. But aren't you also inherent in Christianity a sense of respecting and accepting whatever someone chooses to live their life as?
Okay, let me answer you. Christianity has always done that. Christianity has always seen people live their lives as they want to live it. Christianity has not grabbed people by the whatever and say you better do that or otherwise. Christianity has provided people with that which they believe is the correct thing to do. Has always, whether it was same-sex marriage or tiffin or whatever the case is, has always done that. Here's the issue, which is what I shared earlier on. The question of same-sex marriage and the LGBTQ agenda is not about sex. It has never been about sex. It is about making sure that they want to do what they want to do, and you must say yes and clap for them. That's what the problem is. It has never been about we don't know that people will always have same-sex marriage. Are you getting this, caller?
Well, Pastor Rodney, if I may interject and have a conversation with the caller, I would say this. In 2006, there is a case called Lawrence versus Texas. And that case is a case that that legalized same-sex relationship. So in 2015, with Obergefell versus Hodges, they legalized same-sex marriage under the Obama administration. In 2006, the case with Lawrence versus Texas, just a quick brief, they caught two people in the act of sexual relationship, and the police arrested them. And at the time, the law was against that. Okay, so they charged them, but what they said is that they were adults, that they were involved in consensual relationships. So there was no what we would call Zafir carnal knowledge. It was none of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they said that it was consensual. They said they were adults, and it was the privacy of the home, and they think the state is infringing on their rights. My brother, them and win, you know. They won.
Right.
The caller that called asking about that, again, there is a divide, and the divide here is because this is Kingdom Connection, and the view is we believe in a Christian view. And I guess what I think we purport is the view that Christ says is a man for a woman and a woman for a man, and I think that's the Christian belief.
Let me make that simple for everybody, right?
Yeah,
which is how I teach that, Jack, Matthew, and Dr. George, and the rest of you. Christianity is about teaching what Jesus taught. And what Jesus taught in many respects stand against what a lot of people believe, right? And everybody who have their belief that is contrary to what Jesus taught have a problem with what Jesus taught, including tax collection, right? Abuse of authority, and all of that. Once you use the scripture to say that somebody's angry, right? The bishop just said to Trump in the US that he must do what Jesus says. Have mercy, not so? Right? That's what Jesus taught. Now, Anytime you do not want to hear what Jesus taught, you're going to be offended. Now, here's the other side of Christianity, which merges very well with what Jesus taught. When we teach what Jesus teaches, what we say to you is there's redemption. Right? There is a better way. Right? That's what we teach. Now, you don't think so, that's fine. But you can't shut us up for teaching that. Once you want to do what you do in our faith. And that's my argument all over. That's what I believe. And I don't run after people. I tell people I have all kinds of people come to my church.
No,
and I love them to come.
But Pastor Randy, how can one even criticize Christianity for not accepting a standard of morality which is not in accordance with Christianity? This is not the only sin which I'm against, the only sin that we stand up against. For example, I don't think you hate drunkards.
No.
Don't you have good friends that are drunkards?
But of course.
And they like to speak in your face. They come very close to you after they're, especially when they're drunk. But you don't kick them. And you may have some friends you might not want to identify, but they are thieves. They are illegal thieves. And they're your friends. But they are long-handed ones.
Right.
But these are normal people in society that we cannot just dump in the sea.
That's right.
So a homosexual cannot impose that I accept and clap for his homosexuality,
No.
just like any other standard of morality. So that is the question I have. That is the problem I have. You are on such a campaign to sexualize everybody in your department.
Yes.
You want to turn all heterosexual.
Homosexual. You want to make everybody homosexual.
No, I'm saying I'm respecting you. But that doesn't mean I have to agree with you. And I don't have to applaud you.
That's right.
In what you're doing. So while I understand the other side of the university graduate argument of we cannot impose on everybody.
But we have never.
We are not imposing, but neither you can make our opinion illegal.
And you cannot impose your view on us either.
You cannot arrest me for saying what I believe.
On the telephone, good evening. You are connected.
Good evening, Pastor Rodney, and good evening to your team. Very good discussion.
Yes, good evening.
I'm enjoying it.
I'm glad.
But while you all on this discussion, I just wanted to share something with what I did a recording in that, but I couldn't find it. As you know, whenever a president appoints in America anybody for a position, it has to go through a Senate hearing.
Right.
And there was a health position with Biden during Biden administration. And there was a health lady, very highly qualified in all departments. So Biden appointed her for some kind of health position. Now, during the deliberation, while you were asking a question, to me, it looked very simple, but it was difficult for her to answer, and she couldn't answer it. She had to refer back to some kind of scientific health doctor to answer for her. The question that the Senator Kennedy asked her, when a baby is born, is it a male or a female? And I tell you, this woman had difficulty answering that question. But to me, it looked very simple to me. If a child is born, baby is born, it's either male or female. And she could not answer the question, She had to refer the senator to certain doctor or whatever to answer the question. So I'm saying to myself, it looks simple. I don't know how she's looking at it, but it looks simple to me, and she couldn't answer the question. So the reason why I bring that up is because of the discussion you all have with same-sex marriage. So I'm saying to myself, I don't know if you can maybe help me understand why she couldn't answer that question or whatever. So I just said, let me just throw that in the discussion tonight.
She couldn't answer the question because the LGBTQ movement says that you will decide. You will decide for the child what sex they are after a certain while. That's written in the UNESCO document. Okay, on the technical.
And the child will decide.
Yeah.
Child will decide.
On the telephone, good evening. You were connected.
Okay, here that's Romans chapter 1 said. I'm just speaking a small portion because it's a lot.
Very small portion.
Therefore, God also gave them up to unclean in their thoughts of their heart, to dishonor their bodies among themselves, who exchanged the truth of God for sheep and serve the creature rather than the Creator, is blessed forever. But I just want a little piece there. Likewise, also, the men living the natural use of the women turn in their lust for one another, men and men committing what is shameful, receiving in themselves the penalty of their error, which was also So within that, he has a little more, but God is saying that because they did not retain God in their mind, and God said His wrath is upon them. You understand? So if they don't want to hear, God will show Himself strong.
All right. Okay. But I'll tell you something.
Interesting thing about it.
Remember in that text, I tell people when you use that text, you have to do the context. Okay? So that is written in the text. But the text is also talking about a whole heap of other things.
Exactly.
Okay? The same
Right.
text.
Right.
All right. So
Right.
so when we get that text, let's do it from the context of the scriptures. Let me take another call. Good evening, caller. You have 60 seconds with me.
Yes, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
I do not know of any effort by any government to turn heterosexuals into homosexuals or to require heterosexuals to be involved in same-sex marriage.
Now pause,
I don't
pause,
think-
pause,
I don't-
pause, pause, pause a while. Nobody said that. What we said.
No, it was said a while ago.
No.
I
What?
heard-
No. What was said is the homosexual movement in their actions, not the government. Government was mentioned for that.
But we have a whole lot of people who want to do all kinds of things. We can't go chasing after those rabbit trails because some people have views. When we want to make public pronouncements, I think we should not give the impression in society that there's any official attempt to turn heterosexuals into homosexuals.
No, but hold on. You're misrepresenting what was said.
Yes.
Be careful with that. Let me repeat to you again what was said because you're misrepresenting it. We did not say no official people are doing that. The LGBTQ movement, when you study it and you read it, it is not about sex. It is about people that they want people to be forced to accept what they want so they can do it in your face without you saying, I don't agree. Once you say you don't agree, then they are offended with it.
Hold on. But that's different from them changing you into homosexuals. Now, face it, for years, we have put in their face our public display of affection. So why do we have a right? Why do we have that eternal right to flaunt in their faces our public display of affection, and then we get upset because they want to turn the tables? You see what just happened?
No. You hold on. Who's getting upset? Who got upset?
Because they make an issue out of it.
No. Hold on. No. Don't. Let me hold on. Don't try this LGBTQ trick on me. It doesn't work. I know that trick. Let me tell you something.
Which trick?
Hold on. Let me tell you something. Listen to me.
No, but which trick?
I'll tell you what. And it's documented. What I'm going to tell you is documented. That the LGBTQ movement, that's why they use the word homophobic.
Right.
Because they try to back you up in a corner to make you feel that you're afraid of them. No, nobody's afraid of anybody. Nobody's afraid of anybody. Right? Here's the thing. All I'm saying to you is you can do you see, I'm on the side of the court ruling. Go and do your thing in your bedroom. That's a matter for you in your bedroom, my brother. You can do what you want in your bedroom. Do not confront it in my face and expect me to say hello,
To accept
beautiful, and accept it. No, don't do that.
But that's the point. Then we should therefore ban all public display of affection.
But you are
everyone,
but
not just homosexuals.
But sir, you're being
Are we willing to do that?
no. You're being irrational.
No, I'm not
and
being
what?
irrational.
No.
People tell me that.
You are being irrational. What you say? Listen to why. Homosexuality is an evolving lifestyle. 90% of the people who say that they're homosexual now were not homosexual then.
Oh, that is true.
Exactly. So what you're saying to me, hold on. What you're saying to me is we need to reverse the society because some people decide I am no longer heterosexual, I'm homosexual. Let's reverse the society. No, think about it.
Anyway, Pastor Rodney, I am so sorry to interrupt. My view is,
and call me back.
Yeah, my view is, I don't think we have ever said that we are against persons making their own choice. Persons are free to make their own choice. And I think none of us, not Pastor Matthew, not Pastor Jack, what we did say, this is a Christian program, and we are
they're biblical principles.
Yeah, we are sticking to the.
I'm sticking to biblical principles. That's as simple as this. And the biblical principles tell us that we have to be able to teach everybody, and that's why I questioned the lady a while ago, because the same Romans you're talking about speaks about covetousness, people who are full of envy and murder and strife and deceit and evildoers and so on and so on. Right?
All of that.
All of that we speak to.
Yeah.
And we say to you that that's not one of the things that we speak to about here is leadership and corruption in office and that kind of thing. We speak to that. What do you want us to do?
Right.
Let the corruption just prevail? And no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
All we're asking, that
You know?
the people who believe in homosexuality don't impose upon me my acceptance of your action. That is simple. I'm telling you, okay, it's fine, but I'm not going to approve you breaking into somebody's home. I'm not going to approve adultery. I'm going because the Bible is my boundary line. So I, as a Christian, I live by that. And I understand what my friend was telling me. I cannot impose upon somebody who doesn't believe in the Bible.
But are you imposing?
No. I'm just telling you that this is my biblical conviction.
Now, when you come to my church, right? My church is a Christian church. That's what I believe. But you want to fondle homosexuality in it. What do you want me to do?
No,
I don't want no heterosexual to do that. But you want to come and do it. You want to come and ask me to do your wedding deliberately. No, I'm not doing it. Okay? And that's what that is about. And that's what the movement is
And then
about.
you will be imposing upon me your homosexual principle.
That's what you want to do.
You are forcing me to marry you against my conviction.
Right? And that's all I'm saying. I'm saying you've always done your thing. You've all been, come on. We have a right to say that's what we believe. That's where we stand. But let's go back to the general discussion, which is something I've said about Dominica. We are Dominica. Once upon a time, Prime Minister Skerrit used to say something when he started very early. He used to say that we are we are friends of all, satellites of none, because we're an independent country. Now, I don't know where he learned that from or if he made this statement, but for me, I have no difficulty with that statement. We are friends of all, satellites of none, which means that we are partners. But you cannot come and tell us what to do in our country. Now, that was then, and I believe that may have changed in the Prime Minister's mind. Mr. Skerrit, call me and tell me if that changed, because I find now that
You should know that.
the Chinese people are ruling us now. They're telling us what to do, and we seem to be afraid of them, right? But I supported that statement originally. Friends of all, satellites of none. The gospel is for everybody. We preach the gospel unadulterated to every man because we believe that every man needs the love of Christ. On the telephone, I've got one more caller there, and you have 60 seconds with me, folks.
Yes, in the divine order of God, God gave man free will. But you notice when he come to choose his mate, God actually brought the female unto Adam. So when God asked him to be fruitful and multiply, when God created the female, the Bible says he brought the woman unto the man. And so God in his omniscience knew that man would be defiant to this day. That is why God makes sure he made that choice for man. Listen, I'm not going to give you a chance to choose, because if you choose, you make comments. If you choose, you'll be confused. So I choose for you.
All right. It's interesting that one of the things that we've always said here at Kingdom Connection, which I totally convinced that we are correct in that, and that is we've always said that when God created man, he first instituted the concept of self-governance.
That's right.
And we've always said that once man is able to control himself, then there would be no need for civil governance.
That's right.
And the reason why we have to go to the courts to get things settled and everything is because man has lost control over himself. And that has always been important to me. The sin really is because once man loses governance over himself, sin became the order of the day. And as a result of that, that's what it is. And so we go right back, all the way back to control. Once we lose control, and all through the scripture, we see that, the Bible says that a man that doesn't have control is like what? A city that is broken down and without what? control.
Matthew,
with
you
the
know,
boss.
you seem like you just made a statement there that is preparing to summarize the whole night,
Yes.
and I don't mind you do that because it's already 8 minutes to 8 o'clock in the evening, and which is fundamental.
It's fundamental.
Very, very fundamental. That God's problem with man is that man has not been able to control himself.
Yeah.
And God honestly have given man all the opportunity to control himself. And that's why now we have lawyers, and we have Dr. Dion George who teaches law. That's why we end up with all of that, because man cannot control himself. Dr. George, I'm going to give you the first opportunity for your closing comments in 2 minutes, and I'll take the rest before we begin to take the curtains down here on the program tonight.
Well, thank you, Pastor Rodney, and thank you, Pastor Jack, and thank you, Pastor Matthew. Pastor Matthew, before I give my final comments, I never knew that you umpired cricket. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very good. I coached cricket in St. Joseph Secondary School.
Okay.
And if you don't believe me, I won 2 national championships, Yeah.
Okay.
We beat SMA, we beat Grand Bay. Sorry, Pastor Jack. Yeah. Yeah, I'm serious. Yeah. And I had some good guys from Dublin and from Collioure, and they were very good, and from Salisbury too. And so they played well, and so we won 2 national championships. Yeah, I had folks like Len Shillingford. I had a guy from Dublin they call Kit Shillingford. I had Mario. Good guys, man.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I tell you, we never lost a game. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, outside of that, on the discussion tonight, I just want to give a quick synopsis. My view is we talked about the First Amendment, about indecency. We talked about how it matters. We also talked about the First Amendment and how it matters. I will able to get into the law about the free speech clause and the establishment clause. And then we got into the same-sex marriage. Persons have very, what I would call polarized view on what that means. And I just want to humbly say that none of us are pushing any agenda here. We just basically speak from a Christian perspective.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's the show that we host. And for the persons who disagree, they have their right too. But you cannot impose your view on our program, and that's what it is. So if you are disappointed with our views, you are welcome to disagree. But my view is I am one who believes in Jesus Christ. Given my life to Christ. But let me give you a little joke before I leave. Pastor Rodney say, give me 2 minutes. I think 1 minute.
And that 2 minute up already, but
Yeah.
give us a little joke in 60 seconds.
Yeah, okay, very quick. When Jesus, when God in Genesis, by the way, I don't know if that's true, there's a priest that tell me, and now he says he's going to make man. Them angel says, You up to now I cannot get that scripture, but
Because it's not there.
the angel says, so you're going to make man? Okay, make man. Yeah, and so the whole view there is that man do make mistakes, and my view is I really happy that I was invited on this program. I think it was a healthy program. I think it was educative to the listening public. And the persons who disagree, I want to apologize if we share different opinions, but we can still agree. And I want to thank Pastor Rodney and Pastor Jack and Pastor Matthew. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pastor Jack. Your closing comments?
I do think that one need to understand tonight, our listeners, that whatever we say on Kingdom Connection is coming from a biblical point of view, and that we are Christian and we speak out of our Christian conviction. Also, we must keep in mind that when governments interfere with legality, the law, that is where the confusion starts. To legalize it on any side and to make it a criminal activity on any side, that is left to government. But wherever the government stands, that's not where we stand. Our dictate come from the word of God, and those who are not abiding or believers in the word of God, we accept that. You will always have a disagreement with us. So, but just keep in mind, this program is all about our biblical conviction towards any matter that's applied. We don't have to agree with government, we don't have to agree with anybody, but our mandate and our constitution is the word of God.
Thank you, Pastor Jack. And of course, thank you, Dr. George. Thank you for all what you said tonight. And Pastor Rand, let me just say this quickly here for those of you listening to us this evening. You know, control has always been the issue of the day. And it started all the way in the Garden of Eden when God demonstrated exactly the concept of control. And of course, we see today, even in all the institutions that man has been able to gather, by controlling the flow of information, authorities over the years and even today, they have been able to perpetuate their agendas and, of course, manipulate public perception. And they do this simply because they want to maintain their hold on power. And whatever you see happening around us today, it is because, whether it is in relation to, ensuring that there's a censorship in relation to free expression, or even in other areas, remember, it's always about maintaining a hold and ensuring that our freedom of expression is manipulated, and as a result, of course, to ensure that there is a control in their own power and power surge. So whatever decision you make, be careful.
Thank you very much, Pastor Jack and Matthew. Good to have you again this evening with us. All of you listening to us. And two things before I shut this down, Mr. Retired Police Officer. Somebody has asked me to just ask you to check out the 1925 Geneva Convention, the Geneva Protocols on expired tear gas, and you'll get quite some information there that might teach you some things about it, okay? What all we do here is to educate people. For the rest of you, we want you to know that we really appreciated your interaction with us. We have to stand by what we believe because that's what we believe, and we urge you to open your heart as well as we present what we believe is God's word, and we think that God's word is good for mankind. My name is Randy. I'll be back on your radio tomorrow morning. Pastor Casmus John is out for now, and I'll be sitting in for him tomorrow morning, so I'll be with you tomorrow morning. Please join me as we do Rise and Shine tomorrow morning. Until then, we'll be back with you on Monday evening for another edition of Kingdom Connection. Have a good night. Bye-bye, everybody.
We hang our heads in shame. We ask who's to blame for this morass of moral decay. Leadership gone through, the police in askew, and the talking head will have a field day. But tell me what are